This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, I think we're ready to start.
Okay.
So, welcome everybody, and thank you so much for joining us. Veterans for Public Office, or VPO, formerly known as VPPCE, marks the program's evolution into a clearer, more mission aligned identity. VPO continues its commitment to serving veterans and military connected individuals who aspire to careers in politics. You're going to hear from Steve Lux, Director of Executive Education, Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs at Syracuse University, about how the program equips participants with the skills and confidence needed to pursue elected or appointed roles in public service. Steve has been with VPO from the very beginning, building the program in close partnership with the IVMF. We're also honored to welcome distinguished VPPCE alum whose backgrounds span military service, public leadership, law, and community impact. We have Rhea Arbiel, U.S. Navy veteran and advocate, dedicated to empowering veterans, women, and working families. We have Edward Twaddle, retired U.S. Army colonel who continues serving through local government, youth leadership, and small business initiatives. We have Christopher Daniel, Assistant District Attorney and U.S. Navy Reserve Commander, recognized for his leadership and work protecting children. And Chris Martinez, a colonel in the U.S. Army, and currently serves as a professor and Army chair at National Defense University's College for Information and Cyberspace. He completed VPPCE in 2025 and ran for town council in Chesapeake Beach, Maryland last summer. So we will be sharing the recording of today's session later this afternoon. And I'm also going to go ahead and post these folks' bios in chat so you can learn more about them. And at this time, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Steve.
Okay, so welcome everybody. I'm kind of fighting my PowerPoint because I got trigger finger. But there, hopefully you can see the agenda. I'm going to say a few things about IVMF. Many of you already know about IVMF. I'm going to say a little bit about the Maxwell School, a little bit about the program itself, and then I'm going to try to do that in 20 minutes or less so I can get out of the way so you can direct some of your questions at the alums in the room that I just can't thank enough for being here. So we got 4 for 4. I think that's a record for 4 people showing up. So just happy that you're here. Just real quick, Syracuse University is the proud home of what I consider a real flagship program for the university, for the country. We've always taken veterans issues seriously, and this is just another example of it. My father was one of the first GI Bill recipients back in 19 whatever, got his law degree at Syracuse University, so I directly benefited. I did not serve, my father did, but it has a really long and proud tradition of taking care of vets, and we're just super proud of it. It's has many activities that are super important in many different ways. My short story about IVMF is we're here to help you transition. It started in a very small, niche way, as in helping folks that were somehow injured during their military service, but has just grown into a program that has many tentacles. I call it a federation because we have installations around the country at sister and partner institutions, other universities. Um, but it's all about transition as far as I'm concerned. Um, they do research on veteran issues. We do career and training employment programs. The founder, Michael Haney, who is now the chancellor of Syracuse University, was just appointed, I guess, a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, who founded IVMF, made it is what today is today. Um, he himself is a professor of entrepreneurship. The basic idea was, how do I help veterans transition and maybe get into business as far as entrepreneurship goes? But I also like to point out that so much of what IVMF it's about community service. It's about helping people become part of American civic life, be it business, be it nonprofits, be it public office. And we just believe that the university has something to give as a unique player in the nonprofit world. So that's what IVMF is about. Um, there's 230,000 people that have gone through IVMF programs, which is no small feat. And it's kind of a testimony to how much work has been done. Um, a lot of this is done with the charity, the generous donations of support from major funders, including JP Morgan Chase and a number of corporate partners. So we're very blessed to have not just the institution, but a whole bunch of funders and donors that keep the place moving and growing. Um, so a couple of things about the geography of IVMF, and I just say this out loud because if this is your first touch into IVMF and you're not in Syracuse, New York, there are many other places around the country that you can, uh, shake people's hands, get in touch with people. It doesn't have to always be online. But this slide kind of shows the reach of IVMF across the country. So there's 18 different installations, so on and so forth. Um, I think it was very interesting of late, particularly in 2024, you'll see a bullet point here, pathway additions. So how can we leverage so much of the talent and expertise and training that perhaps DoD invested in you? It could be around cyber training, AI security, so on and so forth. There's a lot of technical skills. How to get you all into careers that leverage that experience. So that's a really important program of late. But I'm going to stop there, move on forward here. So one thing that's very true about IVMF, and it's going to relate to what I'm going to talk to you about today, is that we engage veterans kind of in a couple of ways. The way we do it with the Vets in Politics program is we start with programs that are about ideation. Like, do you have any idea what it means to run for office? Are you thinking about running for office? What information can we give you to make an informed choice about whether this is a good career path or not? That is a theme that is true across many different types of programs. I think it's particularly true in terms of entrepreneurship. So the idea is to not just say, here's 2 days of training and oh, by the way, you should start a Fortune 500 company in 30 days or something. Like we're not unrealistic here. It takes time to incubate, develop ideas. And I think one of the real benefits of IVMF is it's a long-term player. It's been around for a decade or more, and we plan to be around for many more decades to come. So that's how it kind of unfolds in the entrepreneurial world. And I think at the end of the day, the way that IVMF positions itself is to say we're here as a technical assistant. We're also here to kind of support community of practices. In other words, if you have a particular interest in a particular sector of business and so on and so forth, there are communities of people that exist in the IVMF network that can become your colleagues, informants, connections in various ways. So I just want to point those points out a little bit quickly. I'm going to jump ahead because I want to get out of the way, but there's more information you can pull out of websites and information about IVMF, so on and so forth. So transition is about 109. I got about 10 minutes left. The Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs. You may or may not know about the Maxwell School. I consider it one of the country's best kept secrets. I say that almost pejoratively. I wish we were better known than we are, but so it is. So it is. But we're here basically to make the world a better place, and that's it. That's our mission. We have the Athenian Oath written on our walls. Basically says, if you're a citizen of this country, I hope you make a ton of money. I hope you have a great life, great family. I hope also that you contribute to the United States, your local communities, and everything in between to make the world a better place. And frankly, in dealing with a veteran community, you've already done that in many ways. And so we often say this is your second call to serve, and we're here to support if you're willing to kind of jump in the fray. We don't brag too much. I say we don't brag enough, but we are the #1 ranked school of public affairs in the country. And I think there's a real simple set of reasons why. The first reason is we are the first school of public administration. Um, the second reason is we take this subject very seriously. So this school has 200 faculty across 8 different social science disciplines. And the argument I make is the reason why we're so good, if you agree we're good, is when we look at the problem of poverty, social inclusion, economic development, whatever the social issue might be, we're in a very luxurious position because we have faculty from many different disciplines who can help us understand what is the nature of that problem from the perspective of economics, what's the nature of that problem from the perspective of history, so on and so forth. So we're very proud of the school. We can't wait to see some of you on campus at our school if all of this works out for you. You apply to the program, get in, so on and so forth. So the Veterans Program has 2 very specific objectives. I've already alluded to one, at least as it relates to ideation. So the first objective is what I call informed consent. If you're consenting to get involved in politics, before you do it, I want to make sure you know what you're getting into. Um, it's a contact sport. There are lots of issues that you got to think about. What's it mean for your family? What's it mean for your economic future? What's it mean for fulfillment? Right? It's not just a negative to be in politics. There are lots of positives. And I think one of the real strengths of the program is that we bring people into the classroom that have actually done it, not just talked about it, not just theorized about it. They've done it, and they'll tell you what the benefits are for doing it. So the objectives are one, informed consent, what we call ideation. The other one is if you say, I want to put my hat in the ring, I want to run for office, we want to make sure you have the wherewithal, the tools, the knowledge, the skills, the abilities to run a successful campaign. And the most important deliverable of that second course, what we call campaign planning, is to actually produce a campaign plan that you could use to run an actual campaign. And of all the things I find most interesting, most fulfilling about this program is when someone shows up in the beginning of this program without much of a clue how to run a campaign. They put together a successful campaign and they run. Sometimes they don't win, but I think it's good to run anyways. Sometimes they run and win, which is terrific too. Both things are great. Um, when you think about this particular program, topical areas, um, there's no shortage of things that we need to discuss. Um, for the campaign planning, what we're mostly interested in is 6 areas, right? I'm talking about campaign planning now. What does it take to understand who you are as a candidate? So I don't know if you're a philosopher or not, or how much personality assessment you've done in your careers or not, but the basic argument we make is you shouldn't run if you don't know who you are. And oh, by the way, if you know who you are, you should also know how do I want to project myself into the public in a way that's useful, comfortable, acceptable, whatever values you want to assign to it. So you as a candidate is something we spend a lot of time thinking about. One of the things that I think veterans are uniquely qualified, if I just compare demographics or professional fields or whatever your experiences are in the U.S. military, second most important field is in and around the question of strategic planning, strategic environmental scanning, or in some, if I run, what's it going to take to win? How many votes do I need? Is there an incumbent? All these things in the strategic environment that are really important. We also talk about fundraising. We talk about messaging. We talk about organizations. One of the typical questions that people new to this will say, all right, so what do I need to run? How much money do I need? Well, it depends on the race. Well, what's the organization look like? Well, it kind of depends on the race. So a lot of what we do in this program, when you think about these 6 things that I just talked about, is help you contextualize what we teach generalizably into the context in which you intend to run. Because one of the unique features of the US political system, at least compared to many other countries around the world, is every locality is slightly different, if not phenomenally different from one other place. And so the homework that you really need to do is figure out what your location is about. What does it take to run? Who's there? Is it a heavily partisan place or is it nonpartisan? Whatever it might be. So that's a little bit about the topical areas. Speakers, very quickly. We like practitioners. We like theory. We like people that have actually figured out both, if that makes sense. So by practitioner, what I mean is we want people in the classroom who have actually done this. They might look like you. They might have similar values like you. There's something to share. Um, they might come from a similar district, or they might come so on and so forth. So we want people who have actually done this work. So by done this work, we mean veterans who are politicians and run and won or won and lost. We also mean non-veterans who have run and held position. We also bring in fundraisers. We bring in folks that help run campaigns. We work with people that look at polling. Like how do you run a good poll, or what do you do if you can't run a poll because you don't have enough money? So the speakers are purposely diverse, many, and come from different perspectives when you think about running for public office. So that's a little bit about the speakers. In terms of schedule, when we started this program 6 years ago, maybe it's 7 now, I can't quite remember. Our intention was to have one program a year, 25, 30 people, something like this. This year, as in this calendar year, 2026, we hope to get at least 120 people through the program. We're going to have 3 ideation courses. So one in May, one in July, and then one in December. For ideation, what we do is we open up a learning management site. We have videos, we have some questions and answers, some knowledge checks, some written materials. And then after you've gone through all that material, roughly 3 to 5 hours, something like this, depending on how quickly you get through the material, then we have 3 days in a row. So May 12th, 13th, 14th, 3 hours per day, where we have basically live, online, interactive seminars with faculty and all the practitioners that I just talked about. So we have 3 versions of ideation this year. And then campaign planning, I think we have the dates here, right? This is the campaign planning dates. Help me, is that right? Yeah. So our campaign planning course, and remember, ideation is, are you interested in running? Are you sure you want to run? And campaign planning is, I know I want to run, and I'm going to go through a course that helps me put together a campaign plan. This is more involved. Ideation is roughly 12 to 15 hours. Campaign planning is more like 40 to 50 hours of work. So it's much more intense. The signature thing we do is we meet once a week for 2 hours, where we bring in a whole series of speakers, including alums like the ones that are in the classroom today. But in addition to that, we'll have a learning management system, again, with videos, written materials, ways to do knowledge check, and so on and so forth. And then very importantly, the campaign planning program course, I should say, has an online, on-campus immersion in Syracuse, New York, where we invite all the participants to come to campus. For those that cannot come to campus because their life gets in the way, their job won't allow it, their spouse loves them too much, won't let them go, they're sick of being separated from their spouse. We do offer a hybrid version for that, but we prefer you show up. We basically pay for everything when you arrive. We ask you to pay for your own travel to come to Syracuse. But once you're here, we'll hug you to death. We'll feed you. We'll give you 1 or 2 beverages of your like. Try to keep that within reason. But that's essentially what campaign plan is about in terms of schedule. Importantly, when that program ends, we give you about a month to tidy up a campaign plan. And in the beginning of January, as in 2027, we actually have a campaign planning presentation program where everyone gets to present their campaign plans to each other. So that's about the schedule. Program expectations. Um, I'm not going to say anything about that because I think I've talked about that enough. But more important than anything is I just hope you all apply. That's my own goal. Um, if you're even remotely thinking that this program is, of interest to you, go ahead and apply. You will not be charged a fee to apply. Your time is valuable, so I'm sure you don't want to waste your time if you're not truly serious about this. But it's a pretty low threshold to apply. You have to submit some documents, give us a sense of what your interests are, so on and so forth. Um, and I think also you should apply even if you're uncertain about 2026. You might say to yourself, I'm not sure I want to run in 26 or 27, so maybe I'll wait a year. But you should also think about applying because if you apply, we could hold on to that application and kind of admit you down the road too. But it might just help start the conversation, so on and so forth. Um, so I think, yeah, Cassandra just dropped in the website for the application portal you'll see in the chat. Um, is everyone seeing that link for application? I can't see everyone's beautiful faces here yet, but I assume that's good. Okay, there goes the thumbs up. Thank you, sir, ma'am. Um, okay. Trey, did I miss anything? I'm kind of going fast on purpose. Okay. I talked about this. We talked about alums. This is more important. So I think Linda already introduced um, our alums, but maybe Cassandra, do you want to jump in?
Course. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
And thanks so much, everyone. I'm just going to ask a couple questions to our alum here. Yeah, first off, as Steve mentioned, great program. And also just diving into,
Yeah.
yeah, the political sector. And just give me one second. I'm just going to pull up these questions here. And then if you all have a question, please feel free to drop it into the chat. We can filter through that too. So, and I'm so sorry, Steve, I do see a question in the chat. So, from Chris, may
Yeah.
non-campaign participants attend the January 2027 campaign pitch presentation? And then if so, like who should they contact?
Oh, that's cool. So would that person be applying to ideation too, or no? Is that Chris?
Chris, if you want to pop in
Yeah, feel free to put your mic on.
ideation. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, the beauty is, Chris, if you get an ideation, and my guess is if you show interest in this in a sincere way in your application, you'll be admitted to ideation. Then we can start to have that conversation about how you might jump into campaign planning, either as a participant down the road, or as an observer for those campaign plans. Because that's a really thoughtful idea. I never really thought about that before.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. So to get started with the questions, and anyone can pop in at any point from the panel. So these are going to be touching on personal journey and transition. So the main question is, what was the moment you realized you wanted to pursue public office? And how did your military service shape that direction, if so? And whoever wants to pop on.
I can get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, Cass. Hi, Steve. So for me, right, the moment was less more of ambition. It is more about responsibility for me. So I saw policies being made that directly, impacted veterans and military families and working families, but without our lived experience. So at that moment, I really feel like, our military service wires us to be like really into the step into the gap, right? Not around it. So it gave me that mindset that leadership is not about title, it's about ownership. So if you see a problem and you have the capacity to lead, you don't wait, you move. And that's what I've done.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan.
I'll take a swing at it. So I think when I retired, I thought, oh, I've done my leadership thing, so on and so forth, right? After 25 years of running around in other countries and doing stuff. I was like, hey, and then I started to look at what was going on in the local school district. And I was not excited about it, to say the least. And just like Rhea said, like, okay, so what are you going to do about it? Step into the gap, like step forward. Are you going to just sit there and complain about it? Do something. Um, I mean, that's what we, as a senior officer, that's what I told NCOs. That's what I told junior officers. Guess I better now hold myself to the same standard. Um, but I found that I had time now that I was retired, but I still had energy and I still had the passion to step into the gap and to do something. Now, you'll have to ask constituents and so on and so forth as to what kind of a job I'm doing. But stepping in was, so why do it? That's why. Because we have the ability, because we have, just like Rhea said, we have the responsibility, and in many cases we have the opportunity.
Awesome. Thanks so much. David, Chris.
Yeah,
any
sure.
thoughts?
I'll address it. I think Ed and Ray were seemed like they knew exactly what they want to do, very deliberate. I was not that person. I was probably in the camp that Steve was talking about as, hey, if you've ever thought about this or considered it, sign up for the class. So my situation was a little unique. I was living in Belgium at the time. It was at that time we thought it was going to be our last assignment. We already bought our retirement home in this town called Chesapeake Beach, Maryland, and that falls within the district of Steny Hoyer, who's the longest serving representative, and he was in fifth district, and I just looked at it, and I was got some feedback there, and I was thinking of what will my encore career be, what naturally falls with what I really enjoy doing, and that was serving others and serving and being in charge of those units that I had. But what I think what really committed me, what really got me to the point where the previous two speakers were, was actually the ideation phase. It was during ideation that I kind of narrowed that down extremely. I realized, hey, I really understood what the principal agent alignment was. I realized in discovering myself during that point in time where I really, really wanted to do was just make a difference in the community that I lived in. I spent 28 years globetrotting the world, and I finally was going to put down some roots somewhere. And I wanted to make a difference in that community that I lived in, literally right outside my front door, which ironically, the town hall is right across the street from where I live. So, that it was the ideation that really cemented my idea that I want to run and subsequently led to me running last summer.
Awesome.
I think from my perspective, and I agree with a lot of what you've already heard. Those are all great points. I had a very specific plan about what I wanted to achieve, basically becoming what is now the job that is now that my boss holds as the DA. And the program helped me understand the steps that are required to get to that position, where in a political position rather than an appointed position, in understanding the steps it takes to achieve that in a political campaign. In the abstract, it feels like this unachievable objective sometimes, I think. And when you break it down to the different elements of what actually occurs in the campaign process and how you execute it, it becomes easier to understand and allows you to kind of organize a plan around how to get about it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Chris. So, and sorry, I see David Estradi. I think your hand is up. Yeah, you can
That's
come
me.
up.
So, I'm not new at doing this. Back in 1986, I bought a house in a distressed part of town, started working on it, and the city decided to take me to court for putting up the wrong kind of garage doors in the historic district. I went down to the city commission thinking I'd have, hearing from people that are there to represent me, and they'd support me in my attempts to fix up the neighborhood. And instead, it was like talking to a stone wall. And it continued like that until I got fed up in 1993 and ran for mayor of the city of Dayton in a 6-way primary. And a lot of people confused me with another guy, a young lawyer. And he became mayor, and now he's our congressman, and I'm currently running against him. But, when my windows got shot out at my office 2 nights in a row, when I got assaulted by a labor leader, when I later got arrested by the mayor, in the original race, when I got attacked by the previous mayor and who broke his watch on my head, I learned that politics is full contact sport, and that my military training and knowing not to fight back when getting assaulted and knowing to just follow the law and go along with it when I was getting arrested. And I ended up winning that lawsuit after 2.5 years in court. And I've continued to be an activist ever since. I don't know if this course is, something I should be in or something I should be teaching, because I've run so many times. But I think veterans have a lot of skills that are necessary for this, because honestly, most people are afraid to run. And when they hear stories like mine, they know why. If you ever do a search on my name and put in the Washington Beacon, you can find absolute slime about me. And you just have to let it go. I mean, I know who I am. I know what I stand for. I know what I do. And I've been running all along. So that's where I'm at. And I thought I might have something to contribute to other veterans who are considering running.
Cass, can I address that quickly?
Oh, of course. Go ahead.
Yeah, because like you mentioned about things that, he's done it, he's run for office, he has his own why, what he's done it. Like I myself, I've run so many times and lost. Have been in so many political campaign trainings like this. But there's nothing more different than this program, right? Because you are learning together with fellow veterans, and that collaboration of like coming from different points of view prospectively, and not only political boundaries, right? That's what's so beautiful when I went up there in Syracuse, right? Like if any one of you is planning, like make sure you make it to that in-person training, because that's when you get to know the people in this group and this cohort, and you'll understand different perspective. And it really not just touches you, but it gives you a better understanding on how to run and how to deal with the public. Because like when you are a candidate, yes, you are under a certain political banner, right? But at the very core of it, there is an issue that you would like to address. And it's so good to like really brainstorm that and collaborate that with a group of people from different perspective. I would say, David, it's still worth it going to this class and this enrolling in this, applying for this program.
Yeah, and thanks so much, Ray. I think to your point and to also David's point, it's there's so many different outcomes, so many different experiences, but also you can have that difference of experience or difference of opinion while being in the program and still being, as respectful, as collaborative about it too. So thank you so much for those insights. So for the sake of time, I do want to just move into all the questions. And then any questions you all have, we'll definitely save them for the end, but feel free to pop them in the chat too. So next off, we're going to take a deeper dive into like the program experience and also the value of the program. So this question is for you all. What was sort of one thing that VPO taught you that you didn't expect? So something that you couldn't really have learned on your own, something that came about as a result of being in the program.
I'll jump on that one, Cass, for the first one. Like, it's okay to be ambitious and want to get involved, right? That sounds like not something that came it's not one of the skills that's on the agenda, right? Like but at the same time, it is abundantly clear, and I would go so far as to say that it's throughout our country. It's not localized to my area, um, but it's abundantly clear that as soon as you say the typical person says, "Hey, I'm thinking about running for office," they get a lot of, "Oh, you want to be one of them," and to get into a group where everybody is considering it, and it's like, "Hey, man, it's okay. Like it's good, and we need to get people involved." And it really being part of a group of like-minded individuals in that respect, whatever your political bent is, as far as right, left, liberal, conservative, don't care, right? Like everybody is, no, you need to run. Like the fact that you are thinking about it means you need to do it. So that was, for me, that was the big takeaway. I'm not being a arrogant clown or whatever for wanting to run for office.
Thanks, Ed.
I can talk about this a little bit. One of the things I realized in the program is that even if you don't run for office, this program will make you a more relevant political actor in your community. There's usually three main things that increase your relevance in politics locally. One is money, another is relationships, and third would be knowledge. There may be others, but those definitely come into play. This program, it's not going to give you money. It will give you some relationships, but it's going to give you a lot of knowledge to make you more relevant political actor. And it will be recognized based on how you use the things you learn in this course pretty quickly. I also took away from it that winning is great. It's fun, what we're here for, but also your involvement in politics is going to force discussions about important issues, and that is an important public social responsibility.
I don't know about Chris, but I got some money. No, I'm just joking, Chris. Um, but for me, right, I really think what got me that I could have not learned on my own is how to be intentional with my own story, right? As veterans, we often assume that our service speaks to itself, but it really does not in a political context. It's very different, right? So the program really taught me how to connect those dots between my service, my experience, and the everyday concerns of the voters in a way that it's clear, human, and like very relevant for them, right? Because like as veterans who've been in the military, right? Like we have the lingos and we assume things that, like our own community, right? But for some people, yes, they look up to that. For some people, it may not mean anything. But if you can correlate those experiences with what's going on in the world right now and how can you be of help, that's what's really like the program teaches you to do.
If I could just add to that, I think part of the question was what the program taught me that I didn't expect. I did not expect the level of direct application of the products that we were required to do during the class, the stump speech, the campaign plan. If you entered these assignments like the campaign plan with the intention of I want to be able to pull this off the shelf and run for office, it can be extremely helpful. And when I moved into this town last summer, literally, ironically, someone stepped off the town council and there was an immediate opening. And I literally went into my household goods, grabbed the hard copy because I didn't have a network set up in the house yet, grabbed the hard copy of the campaign plan and the stump speech and went to town hall. And, within 58 days, I came in second out of six candidates by fully applying everything I learned in the class. I mean, it was direct application more than any class I've ever taken in college level, postgraduate level, anything.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. So moving on a little bit, I have a submitted question here. So how, in your perspective, does VPO help participants to navigate barriers such as fundraising, campaign strategy, or translating military experience into that public-facing narrative? How do you feel VPO has helped in that sense?
I can start with that one. It breaks down the process, right? It breaks down the process down to like really fundraising becomes relationship building. And someone like mentioned that earlier already, right? Strategy becomes structured. And your story becomes a lot of like a really big tool for impact. So it takes what it feels overwhelming and makes it actionable. I think that's one thing about those things that we have to do during, all the entire course of the program. Fundraising becomes like really building trust and telling your compelling story and how can people and voters be relating to that and pitching some money for your campaign, right? Um, like what I said, that those strategy, it becomes like a roadmap. Like I really like that part. And you're not only hearing from the instructors, like from the school, right? You're hearing it from someone that has been through that same experience. And I think, and all across, the spectrum politically, they're all there. And you will like really, it doesn't matter what are their views, right? But that experience and how they navigate those fundraising campaign strategy and those how can I relate my military experience to the public, that's what really like makes it like an outstanding program to like really be involved in.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. Does anyone else want to add? So the next thing that I have for you all is so military service, of course, gives veterans that unique set of values such as discipline, mission focus, and also teamwork. So, in your lens, how do you communicate that to civilian voters without it feeling like, sort of like a resume talking point?
That goes right to the relationship building that Rhea was just talking about, right? Like you have to learn to connect with whomever you're talking with very quickly and don't just say, I'm a veteran, so I am disciplined and focused and right, everybody's going, okay, moving right along. But you, you have to learn how to connect with whomever you're talking to, even though you just walked up and knocked on their door. Your complete intention is to ask them for, 5, 10, 15, or whatever you're going to ask them for. Um, and show them immediately, through that connection that you establish very rapidly that you are exactly what you like. You shouldn't have to say, I'm disciplined and I'm this and I'm that and I'm dedicated. Like show them, make that connection and show them that. Um, one person's opinion.
Cass,
Awesome.
if I might add for that one, right? I think you lead with relevance, right? People aren't voting for your past, not, what you've done in the military. They're voting for what you can do for them. So you need to learn, right? Like how to tie in your service to outcomes. You've done all of these things. You solve problems, you make decisions under pressure, and you deliver results, right? It's about showing and not telling how those values will benefit their lives, not just like for you to be in a pedestal and show off.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. And if anyone wants to add, definitely feel free. So I do want to lend to this next question. So more towards that, of course, military transition experience. So where do you all feel veterans have that natural advantage in that political life? And where do you feel you had to work, the hardest to adapt in that sense too?
To talking to I'm sorry if I'm taking up all the air in the room, but like my transition out of the military for me personally was very difficult. I moved to a location that there's not a lot of retired military around, right? There's not a major installation within several hours of me. Um, so like the connection was lost. So for me, it enabled me like the transition to hey, let's jump into this was to connect with being part of something or contributing to something that was bigger than me, right? Like it's easy to say, hey, I'm going to go work for IBM and make $1 million, or I'm going to go, do this. And if that's what you're into, great. Like I'm not faulting anybody for that. But I personally struggled with the loss of being connected to something bigger. Even if you lose your campaign, whether it's for school board or president of the United States, like you at that point have been involved deeply in the decision making and the service of to your local area, or if you're going for federal or national to a bigger area. So like you've been committed, and that, if nothing else, was helpful for me. Um, so I'll pause there. But for me, it was finding something that I could connect to that was bigger than I was, and I could call it service, um, rather than it's a job and I'm just going to a job to put money in my wallet kind of thing.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Ed. So overall, the program really does prepare you for not only, the transition between the military lifestyle into that political sector, but also learning about yourself throughout it as well, it seems. So I do want to just take a quick transition into another submitted question. So a couple individuals were wondering, what does your typical week look like now? Whether you're currently running, serving, or preparing, and how does the program's training show up in that real life?
I could comment on that. I think if you're wanting to get into politics, you need to expect to work hard because you're being interviewed every time you interact with the public, no matter where you're at. You're going to put your name out there as someone that's going to be on a ballot. You're going to have signs out with your name on it. Everywhere you go, people are evaluating whether they want you to represent you in some capacity. So you've got to show them that you're a hard worker. So if you don't have that work ethic, it's going to be a challenge for you. Because you're probably going to also have a job. Maybe you're retired. That would be awesome if you are. But you're going to have to do that because you're interviewing with the public every time you interact. And I think that's what you need to expect.
Awesome. Thanks so much. The other.
I can.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I can add to that. And some of it's actually blending the last question with this question in terms of a natural advantage where it was hard to adapt and what a typical week looks like. So, when I first came to the town, I was at an advantage when someone from the town council stepped down. That of the six town council members and the mayor, three of them were veterans, and those were the ones I really had to meet. So no door knocking, because the votes really resided with them who was going to get the position. So I met with all of them individually. And I think where I had the hardest time to get a foothold in, even though it was great to have this common ground of a veteran, was no track record. And I think a lot of people that enter politics from the military, that is one thing that they have to overcome, is not having a record. And in many ways, as the program will teach you, that's a distinct advantage. But in other ways, it's something hard to get over. And at the end of the day, it was very hard for me to get over in less than 2 months. But what my week looks like now, mind you, I'm still in the military now, but what the program demonstrated and taught with the speakers was get involved. So, after not getting the position, I immediately threw my name in the hat with several of the council members to support different committees that they lead. Currently a member of the election committee. Currently work with some green programs that another one of the council members is running. My wife and I just 2 days ago met with the mayor and a council member to re-envision their Veterans Park. So So, building that reputation and credibility, and getting involved will help ultimately in 2028, which is actually what I built that campaign plan for. So it teaches you how to navigate over time and space. Um, and that's what my typical week looks like now. I mean, it's going to all the town council meetings every month. A week before that, there's a work session. I go to them as well. I look at the agendas before the agenda. I'll just send one point-to-point notes to the council members. If they make good points during the meetings, I'll send them feedback afterwards. I'm not necessarily making public comment, but just having a point-to-point relationship with all the town council members really is how I spend my time now. Serving on their committees, communicating with them before and after events, and I find it very useful.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. So this next question is geared towards, so what's one piece of advice you'd give to a veteran who's interested but still on the fence about pursuing office? What would you kind of lend to that?
I'll start with that, Kath. I think like it's been a thread all this afternoon, right? Don't self-select out. What do I mean by that? So as veterans, like so many times, like we talk ourselves or running, before they even start, like that we don't want to do this. I cannot do this. I don't have the experience and all those things, right? But you don't need to have figured everything out like right away. One thing I will tell you, like most people here, is just like you just need to be willing to really step forward and do the work. It's really that. You cannot figure it all out. And as you've done it, I've done like 3 state campaigns, and every single time it's still different. You're learning things as you go along. But this program gives you that structure, that foundation, so that you can navigate those things.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
I'm
And so
commenting
right,
on
don't
that.
self-select. Go ahead, Chris.
I'll comment on that as well. One of the things I think that you can do is get involved with a campaign in the same district that you want to run in. For me, there was a delay from the time that I went through the course to the time that I would qualify as a candidate. But my trial partner was running for judge. And so I rolled immediately into her campaign as a key member of her committee and have been able to immediately apply what I learned so that now I'm basically getting a practicum of experience by doing this. And so when I go back and do it for myself, I will have already had exposure to the very lab where I've already worked in developing the voters to get me elected. And I think that can be key. It's good to volunteer in campaigns, but particularly where you're planning to run, because you will learn where clusters of voters are and all kinds of things that are very useful in a campaign.
Thanks, Chris. So this question is one of the last questions. And what does success look like for you, not just personally, but for veteran representation in government more broadly? How does that look like?
But I think for me, Cass, when I think about that question, right, success will look like, success is veterans not only serving in office, but shaping the policies, right? Leading committees and like driving outcomes. For most of the time, we say, like, yes, there's no veteran on the table, let's open that up. But do we have the voice, right? It's about moving from presence to influence and really ensuring that our communities are better because we all showed up. I think that's what success looks like.
Awesome.
Yeah, snap linking on with Rhea yet again, you put it very well, right? Like that influence. Okay, you run, maybe you're defeated. I was defeated when I ran for a state position, right? Um, but you're now a somewhat known quantity. And people will say, "Oh, I now like I beat Ed on, in the primary and then won office, and now I find myself on the veterans committee and I'm not a veteran and don't have a stinking clue." But that dude might, right? Like, and now people are reaching out to you and again, repeating Rhea's words, which were very well put. Like now you have influence, even if you are not physically present on that committee or whatever, and you can have influence on the issues that you're interested in. We're speaking veterans here specifically, but whatever other issues you're looking at as well.
I think the success looks like better government, just period. Things don't appear to be really functional these days to the average voter out there. And I think confidence in our government governing is eroding out in the general public. And as for veterans, I think we have a responsibility to be the adult in the room and making sure that we have good government, because we've had a unique sacrifice in our approach to our lives. And so that's what I think it looks like.
Yeah, if I can just flip the script a little bit, very, very few people in our nation interact with people in the military. And the one time that many will interact with them is actually when they're serving in a public office and not necessarily in uniform. So in a large way, I think when you actually serve in the government afterwards, it's a reflection, almost as if you're an ambassador for the previous service you've done in uniform. So I think it's a little bit of a reflection of where you came from, and it helps maintain the trust and confidence in our armed forces when you can serve out of uniform with honor and distinction as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. So for the sake of time, I'm going to close it off to questions, but I do want to, thank you so much, Steve. I do want to gear it towards this contact information. If you are interested in learning more about the VPO program, definitely reach out to our enrollment services team here. Steve Lux's information is down below with the VPO email as well. But most of all, I do want to just say thank you so much to our alumni here, providing such great insights about their experience throughout the program, where they're at now, and also just lending those crucial insights for if you're interested in applying into this program. So overall, thank you so much, everyone, for lending those great insights. We really do appreciate it. So as Linda mentioned at the top of this call, we will be sharing additional information post this VetNet session. So look out in your emails